broadcast has started. Thank you very much. It is 10:30, so we'll make a start. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Planning and Rights of Way Committee. I'm Councillor Mike Quigley, Chairman of the committee. I'd like to welcome you all to this meeting, which is taking place here in the Council Chamber and being broadcast live on YouTube. Firstly, do we have any apologies for absence?
I have apologies from Councillor Purdue-Horan, Chairman, and I have apologies from Councillor Fielding, who is substituted for today by Councillor Allen.
Thank you very much. Declarations of interest, anyone? Members first. Any members got any declarations of interest to make? None? Officers? None. Thank you very much. I'm not aware of any lobbying that's taken place, unless anybody else has got anything to declare. No? Fine. Minutes of the last meeting, held on the 18th of July, are included as item 4 on the agenda. Are we satisfied that these minutes are a true record of that meeting? Could I have a show of hands? Everyone in favour? That's clearly carried then, thank you. So it brings us on to the substantive item on the agenda, which is variation of planning condition for Two Oaks Quarry in Sutton-in-Ashfield. And it's an application to allow the one-off importation of sand into Two Oaks Quarry for processing in support of a separate development project taking place in Mansfield. I move the recommendations are set out in the report. Can the recommendations be seconded?
Formally Secretary, Chair, reserve the right to speak.
Thank you. I invite Joel Marshall, Principal Planning Officer, to present the report and any further information relevant to the application.
Thank you. Good morning. Two Oaks Quarry is a large silica sand quarry located beside the A611 between Sutton-in-Ashfield and the southern edge of Mansfield. This was first granted planning permission in 2013, and the extraction is currently in the later stages of phase 1 of 4, within the north-east corner of the site adjacent to Thieves Wood. And the future phases of mineral extraction are currently arable fields. The quarry is accessed from Coxmoor Road, leading to a weighbridge and office complex. There is a large array of processing plants within the site, stocking areas and silt lagoons. General view of the quarry on the slide there for you there. The Mansfield Sand Company is seeking to vary condition 34 of the quarry planning permission, which stipulates that only Site 1 mineral can be processed on site and that no mineral can be imported into the quarry. The company also operates a brick and block factory at Crown Farm Way in Mansfield. They are in the planning stages there for an expansion to this factory onto adjacent land. That land has a particular slope to it, which will require excavation works to create a suitable building platform. The company estimates that around 250,000 tonnes of sand could be extracted as part of those land grading works. It wishes to be able to bring that material and transport that material into Two Oaks Quarry for processing and onward sale. And this will take around 12 months. So the proposal does not raise any significant or complex issues. No objections have been reported, but the scale of the importation does require it to be brought to the committee for determination. So the reason for originally imposing condition 34 was to limit HGV traffic. However, condition 13 is the primary means of controlling these movements. In recent years, permissions have been granted to vary condition 13, and the numbers of HGVs have been allowed to be raised through those variations, which are set out in the planning history in the report. In this particular situation, though, the company have not sought to vary condition 13, and they calculate that the HGV traffic needs to actually import this sand can actually be accommodated within the current limits within condition 13. So planning officers, we are satisfied that the applicant has been able to demonstrate that the temporary additional activity would not breach the terms of condition 13. There would in effect be no increase in traffic over and above what has previously been found to be acceptable on highways and other amenity and planning grounds. There is also a suitable route for the HGV traffic between the Crown Farm Way site and the quarry. These movements would run also during the approved hours for the quarry and would abide by the quarry routing agreement that is in place, which prevents vehicles routing along the top part of Coxmoor Road. The proposed variation to condition 34 would effectively act as an enabler to facilitate the brick factory expansion project, and it would give the applicant certainty to continue with their plans to the next stage. Now, it should be noted that separate planning permission will be required for that project, likely from Mansfield District Council, but possibly ourselves as well. Revised wording for condition 34 would make an allowance to import the mineral as an incidental part of the expansion of the brickworks at Crown Farm Way. However, it's not considered necessary to specify a time limit for that to take place, other than allowing the normal 3 years to commence that operation. The proposed variation is supported by development plan policy and principally by the policies and objectives of the Nottinghamshire Minerals Local Plan, which seeks to safeguard and make sustainable use of minerals. Accordingly, we recommend that the variation to the condition be approved, subject to minor updates and the reimposition of the other conditions as set out in Appendix 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. I had an indication that the applicant wished to speak on the matter, and also Councillor Deakin, but I see Councillor Deakin is not here, so I presume she doesn't want to exercise her right to speak. So if I could ask the applicant to step up and speak. He has 3 minutes, and we will advise you when you have 1 minute left.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Good morning, Chairman, members and Vice Chair. Two Oaks Quarry is unique in that it is the sole quarry producing specialist silica sands in the county of Nottinghamshire. It is a relatively new operation which was first developed in 2013-14 following conditional approval by the Nottinghamshire County Council and following officer's recommendation. The quarry is the county's sole producer of high quality silica sand, and the site makes a significant contribution to the local economy by way of rate contributions, day-to-day purchases of supplies, the use of local specialist contractors for quarry plant repair, and the use of local hauliers to deliver quarry products. The quarry produces a range of specialist industrial and construction sands, and specialist fibre sand products are produced for equestrian and sports uses, along with top dressing of football pitches and golf courses within the UK. Output at the quarry varies seasonally, with the winter months being relatively quiet and the summer months being extremely busy. The company has 2 operating sites at present. The first is Two Oaks Quarry, producing the range of high quality silica sand products, and the second the brickworks at Crown Farm, Mansfield. The applicants have recently acquired an area of land adjacent to existing brickworks and would seek to extend and improve the brickworks facility. In order to undertake such development, it is necessary to reduce the levels of the new land, as the topography is variable and the proposed development area presently sits several metres higher than the existing brickworks yard. The underlying sand that would be won off the levelling up of the site is similar in quality to that processed at Two Oaks Quarry. This reduction will involve the removal of approximately 250,000 tonnes of sand, and the applicants wish to transport this from Crown Farm to Two Oaks Quarry, which lies around 8 miles to the southwest. The current planning consent covering all site operations at Two Oaks Quarry does not permit the importation of sand from any external sources, and hence a one-off planning consent is required to enable the proposed importation of sand to occur. The removal of sand from Crown Farm accords with good, sustainable practice following national planning policies and policies contained within the existing Nottinghamshire County Local Mineral Plan, which promotes the use of minerals which would otherwise be sterilised by more permanent forms of development. The application before you allows this development to occur, and it is therefore hoped that members will follow the officer's recommendation of approval, enabling the sand to be imported once planning consent has been received for the new brickworks development from the Mansfield District Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aldridge. Do officers need to make any clarification on any of the points? No. In that case, I'll open it up for debate. If anyone has any comments, observations.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions. Do you want them one at a time or both together, and you'll take notes?
I'm easy either way. I'm sure the officers can cope with more than one question.
Lovely. My first one is relevant to site inspections. I know that it actually isn't within this application itself, but it does have ongoing impact on Thieveswood next door. So I'm wondering how often the site is inspected, and will this be increased? My reason for asking that question is that I've recently had complaints that the footpaths, which you can see on the map, hits the boundary between Thieveswood, Norman's Hills Wood, and the application site, that the footpaths are frequently closed by sand slurry coming off the site into the woods. Now, this is a triple SI, as well as quite a popular area, but I won't go into why it's such a popular area. Needless to say, I don't know much about it. But given that it is quite open to the public there, I wonder if we could include this in an informative or anything under the conditions. My second question is, are there going to be more HGV movements to and from this site? But that has already been answered, thank you, to my satisfaction. But I would like to know about inspections and what we can do about flowing off the site into the adjacent woods. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Would you like to respond, John?
I think we inspected
Four times, yes. Yes, thank you. It's a busy quarry, and as such, we have 4 visits a year to this quarry to inspect the operation and to ensure that it is complying by the planning conditions and not causing impact off-site. I'm not aware of the concern about the footpaths, and I think the appropriate course of action would be for me to look into that with my colleagues and to programme that into the next site inspection.
Thank you.
And we'll look at that particular point because, as you say, those woods are a good recreational resource. Not a triple SI, but they are nice. They are nice woods in some ways.
I think they should be a triple SI.
Yes. And hopefully the HGV movement, you're happy with the explanation on that. Okay, thank you.
Next inspection's due.
Thank you, Joel. Any further observations, questions, anyone? Are we content then to move to the vote? All in favour of the recommendations? That is unanimously carried then. Thank you very much. Move on to agenda item 6, which is the regular development management progress report. And I invite Jonathan Smith to present his report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is the report bring to every committee which sets out the applications that have been received and determined by the development management team since last committee, along with details of applications likely to come before committee at future meetings. And there's also details about the authority's performance in determining planning applications. There's a couple of extra bits as well. We've just set out some details in there in terms of the government's response to the consultation on planning fee increases. The details are in the report. Unfortunately, it doesn't include the proposed doubling of fees for retrospective applications, which I know is something that members were quite keen to see, but it looks as though that isn't going to come forward as part of the fee increase, although they haven't actually come into force yet. We're expecting them sometime later this year. Another item is just to confirm that committee resolved to refuse planning permission in December last year to enable a new waste transfer station in Colwick to operate without the air filtration plant. Just confirmed that the applicant has chosen not to appeal the decision. They've stated that it is now their intention to fully operate the site from day one, including the preparation of refuse-derived fuel, which is the operation which creates the most odour issues. And so, in effect, the applicant has decided to implement the original planning permission as granted. Just one final matter, Chair, which isn't in the paper, but just confirm that yesterday, finally, works have commenced to restore the Misson Springs shale gas exploration site, which members will recall refusing planning permission for an extension of time for that. They've finally started the restoration works this week, so hopefully that will be completed during the winter before the next bird breeding season next year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any comments, questions, Councillor Owen?
Chairman, I think it's disappointing that the government have not taken on board the comments we made about fees for retrospective planning applications. Retrospective planning applications always leave a sour taste in the mouth because the general public feel that there is some fiddle going on, and inevitably they talk about brown envelopes, which of course is a nonsense, but nevertheless that's what they talk about. There really, in the vast majority of cases, is no excuse for necessitating a retrospective planning application. It's usually done deliberately to put something there, and then when they get caught out, when they're reported, put in a retrospective planning application in the hope and indeed expectation that it will be passed anyway. And people don't really understand that if planning permission would have been given had the planning application been put in appropriately, then you've got no grounds to turn it down retrospectively. And but often there are also included in the retrospective planning applications things that you might not necessarily have granted permission for initially, and they sneak that through, and people do feel generally that this is unfair. So I'm particularly disappointed that the government haven't come forward with plans to double the fees for retrospective planning application to try and eliminate it.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillor Clamere?
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Councillor has been on about. In this case, retrospective, and I think the company put things right, but they came for retrospective planning permission. They'd actually extracted 500,000 tonnes of sand out of the ground for retrospective and came for planning later on. Now, you can't really turn that down because it's already been taken out. That's the problem with retrospective planning permission. And I think that people, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but what I'm saying is it shows you we can't reverse them sometimes. They have got you over a barrel, and I can't understand why we can't charge double if it's retrospective, because they know what they're doing, and that's it. I'm a little bit disappointed, like Philip is. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Henshaw.
Thanks, Chair, for bringing me in. I tend to agree with what you said this morning in relation to the retrospective applications, but as they say, hope springs eternal, and it says in the report that that this may be introduced at a future date. So through whatever means, if we could sort of still keep the issue at the fore of people's thinking, we may in the future get some movement on that to go along with the lines that's been discussed. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Beamer. Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to keep on the theme, I'm totally opposed to retrospective. I totally agree as well. I'd actually more than double it, to be fair, as well, because a lot of it is done deliberately. I mean, in the district councils, you can actually understand somebody the first time at home build this, that, and the other. But any professionals don't know exactly what they're doing and the reason why. And as has been intimated already by Councillor Owen, it's the conditions they're getting around, things that they wouldn't have got if they had gone through the proper channels. And that really is an annoying thing, and particularly at district level, where they have more say on the actual designs, etc., etc. But yeah, it's a retrograde step, unfortunately. I would actually more than double it. Thank you for that. I think at the last meeting I suggested that we should treble it, not double it. But in fact, the way I feel now, I think we should probably quadruple it. But is there anything happening at a national level to make representations back to the government, Jonathan? Do you and Joel, do you know of anything? Or?
No, but the only thing I would add is that, as stated in paragraph 5 of the report, the government has confirmed they plan to undertake a wider review of planning for your system in due course. So I suspect there will be further opportunities to make that point, and we'd be happy to do so.
Anyone else? No, we're happy to accept the report. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the business of the meeting. Has the YouTube broadcast now ended? Thank you.